Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today I have a very special guest on the show. We're going to be talking all things YouTube. So if you want some questions answered, we'll be doing that. We'll be having a rant and having a chat and a this and that. Pete Johns is on the show. Oh, yeah. Are you ready? Let's oge. Boom, what's going on? This is Rant with me. I'm just shooting a little bit, walking around the city with my friend Pete Johns over here. And we're heading right here to this place. So this was on a previous episode. This is Fitzroy Gardens. And we're just doing a quick walk.
Out of ideas.
Yeah, Pete's heading out to the theatre. We just had breakfast and we watched along to Thomas Christ. Then we watched me make a buffoon of myself. And Pete's watching him on his phone there. So if you send a super chat or a super sticker to either of us, thank you very much. We love you lots. We're just heading down this little park here for a quick walk. And then I'm going to say goodbye to Pete and just walk around the city and I'll rant a little bit to you guys. All right, it's Oja. Wow, how good are these trees? Yeah, look at this, look at this. It's where I live, bitches.
Where I visit, bitches.
That's where Pete visits. And
Home away from home.
This isn't a cliched part of Melbourne at all. Oge. As usual, where there's parks, there's magpies. Yeah, they don't look friendly, do they? Not at all. Plotting. Didn't even move. It just was like, what's that stupid guy doing? Ouch. Oh, goodness me. Everybody, welcome to the show. Look at these fools. Let's just bring him straight on to the show right now, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Hey, Johns, hello. How you going, mate?
Oh, hi. Those magpies were trouble, I tell you. Trouble.
I love how you're like, they just looked at you like, what?
Oh, well, yeah, they were nuts. At one stage, one came and like the little magpie attacked the big magpie, and it was all on. But no, it was good times wandering the streets of Melbourne. That's how to YouTube, folks. Just have fun and make a goddamn fool out of yourself.
Yep, show over. See you later. Thanks for coming, everybody. Hey, thanks for coming, everybody in the chat. We'll see you here. We'll say hello to you and get it all done out the way, and we'll say hello to you during the show as well. Mark Bro is here. We got Thomas Christ, the man, the myth, the legend. Yeah. Pookie Ann, hello Pookstar. We got Andy Goldsby, the butter boy himself. Lady Campion, we got our Legs is here. Polvo, what's going on, man? And oh God, I choked. Mateus. Hey, George, Jorge, however you say it. I always get confused and can't decide which one I'm going to go with. It's so.
It depends how Australian you want to be. It's like if we try and say Jorge, we end up going Jorge.
Yeah, Jorge, g'day, Jorge. I think I've got most people here. If you're lurking around too, well, happy lurking to you. Treatment in progress. Hello to you. Welcome. We're going to talk all things YouTube today. Valerie Bard. Here's another person who's doing YouTube pretty well. She's doing really well. Lots of people using the YouTubes really well. We're going to try and give you some tips I'm going to make a statement before I get into it. I'm not an expert. And
Oh God, but we're doomed because neither am I. God damn it.
and I learned most of what I know from this guy over here.
Oh,
And you know,
the blind leading the blind.
as Pete always says, I think we're all just a work in progress. So, I think you have to be on YouTube, don't you? Because YouTube continuously are changing the rules, aren't they?
It's true. If you'd like to play the drinking game, if you have a shot every time I say building on borrowed land, consistency is key, and the goalpost will shift constantly, then you'll be absolutely pissed.
So grab your vodka, folks. We're on like Donkey Kong. So, first off, let's just say, we did meet up on this weekend just gone by, and this is something that we've done quite a few times. And not only, I hope are we still friends?
Sure.
All right, cool. We got through another time meeting up where you still want to be my friend. All right. I didn't embarrass the shit out of you yet, so. Great.
You're working on it. No, that was good.
But every time we have met up, I love this about when we do meet up, not only as good friends, but we always come away with something new to do on YouTube. We tend to feed off each other.
And if the Australian Tax Office is watching when I put my deduction in for that trip to Melbourne, just keep that in mind. This will be taken as evidence of the fact that was indeed a work trip.
Yes,
But it's 100% true because it is key. And again, we'll dive into the details of this, but when I first started out on YouTube, I tried to copy everyone, and then it didn't really work because I wanted to be like Joe Gilder, or I wanted to be like Graham Cochran, or all these other sort of home recording YouTubers. And then I realized that wasn't key. And it wasn't until I sort of started talking to folks like Jade and like others in like Mike from Creative Source, who we caught up with in Melbourne as well.
Yes.
It's just that sharing of ideas. And it's not about like, oh, I'm just going to copy everything you do. Because there's a bunch of stuff Jade does that I want no part of. I'm not doing a walk with me and editing for 17 hours to get a 2-hour show out. Screw that. But and like Mike, I'm not doing 15 hours of B-roll of like shiny things on desks. Like that just sounds like absolute hell to me. But they'll come up with some sort of random stuff that I'm just like, oh yeah, that's cool. So yeah, it was good because like Jade's taken over apps, so I don't have to do that anymore, which is wonderful. But the whole walking thing, like I did the little videos to start with, and then Jade's done those longer videos. And then for the podcast this week, I was feeling like, oh, I want to get outside. It's beautiful weather. And so I just put the camera on and went walking and answered 10 questions. And yeah, so it's just building upon things and building upon things. I think that's why, without getting the little violins out early, community and people are so important because that's where you generate your ideas. And the old adage that I get wrong all the time, which is like the sum of the parts does not equal the whole, meaning that you plus one other person is like 3 or 4 people's worth of ideas, because once you start bouncing things around, you'll be astonished at what you come up with.
Absolutely, yeah. I love our little brainstorming things. I mean, I've got so many ideas from hanging out with you, and I know some of the ideas. I remember that little Chinese restaurant we hung out there in Adelaide, and that was where the birth of the opening hour came from, and the now deceased community. What was it? The town hall.
Creator Town Hall, which is now the podcast. Things evolve, things change.
Yeah, things. I've heard a song like that before, Pete. You may have heard it. I don't know. It's by this guy named Pete.
Funny little guy.
I nearly said it. Hello, Pookie. Thank you for the kind gifted memberships, Pookie's.
Pook.
I know.
Pook.
Everybody bow down and wash Pookie's feet.
Yes, remember it's poo, not puke. Don't get it wrong like
don't
me.
say
when I
Pukey.
first said her name, I said Pukey, and it's not, it's Pookie. So remember, no puke, yes poo. Sorry, Pookie, we love you.
Poo for the win. There we go.
There we go. Have I just insulted the one person who's kinder than anyone else in our entire community that's always gifting things to others? Yeah, no. There you go. There's YouTube 101. Insult the commenters that are your most loyal fans. That will really
Last time
help
I
out.
bring you on my show, gee.
Right.
Tony Howie, g'day. And I saw Joe Glenn. The Glens have been a little bit sick lately, so good to see them
I
popping
haven't
back.
seen the Glens lately, and I wanted to say, I know we'll talk about, I'm just hijacking your show, but Joe and Barry Glenn, you did a giveaway recently, and they won, and they paid it forward, and there was a gift that they were going to get that they sent to my good wife, so I wanted to publicly applaud and thank Joe and Barry Glenn for just being lovely people.
Yeah, so I don't think I let them know that all went down. So just we had Ali on the show with her wonderful aromatherapies and makeup and all that stuff, and Joe and Barry Glenn won, and they sent that on to Georgie, and she got it, and it's all awesome, really fantastic. Who else do I see who might be here? Do I see anyone else I may have missed? If I've Ed Bemedal. Ed
Bemedal.
Ed Bemedal. Yep. Hello, Ed. Good to see you. All right, Pete. So, what inspired you actually to start your YouTube channel? I'm curious to know this.
I was trying to work out if there's a version of this story that I haven't said before, or I can tell it in a different way, but not really. I'm not a very original person. So it all came down to the fact that I wanted to make music. So it came out of the fact that I wanted to do an EP. I wanted to record something, music. And I started out recording in Reaper on my PC and instantly kind of didn't like it because it was too complex. So I found GarageBand on my iPhone and I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of GarageBand, but I'd never known how to do like more than 8 bars. And I didn't know how you could record guitars or vocals or anything like that. So I'm like, nah, that's a bit too hard. But one day I was like, I'll go onto YouTube and I'll try and learn how to use GarageBand. So I jumped onto YouTube, GarageBand, and everything that came up of the first like 100 videos, 3 of them were iOS and 97 were Mac. And they were all great videos from like Patrick from the GarageBand Guide and all the other cool folks. But no one was really just focusing in at the nerdy level that I wanted to on just GarageBand on mobile. So I thought, hey, if no one else is doing it, I might as well do it. So as I made my first EP on my iPhone 6S Plus, that's how old we were back in 2016, 2017, I started just documenting it and just recording it really badly. Had no idea about cameras, lighting, sound, none of that. So I just started just documenting my process because I'm like, hey, if I don't know this stuff, if I can't find the answers, chances are there's other people out there that can't find the answers too. So yeah, just started making a video once every month or so. It really wasn't on routine or anything. Did it on music memos, how to hook up MIDI to GarageBand, how to connect a Lightning to USB adapter to your iPhone or your iPad as well. And yeah, just slowly found that yeah, there was this big community of people that either wanted this stuff but didn't know where to find it, or didn't even know you could do this and were just amazed that, hey, I didn't know you could actually record a real guitar or a real microphone on my iPhone. That's insane. So yeah, that was kind of the impetus for it. And then it was 5 years that I did it as a just a hobby, and it turned from a hobby to a side hustle, and then it turned from a side hustle to about a full-time job. So for a while I was working 2 full-time jobs, and then yeah, I was lucky enough just after the the occurrence, the situation, to that my corporate daddy said, "Son, we're kicking you out of the nest," and I went, gold. That's perfect. It's great timing. So from 2020, September 2020 until now, which is 3.5 years, this is my life. My life has been as a music educator and content creator, because we don't say the Y word, because YouTuber makes me sound like I'm trying to be too cool. It's like influencer. I'm like, I don't ever want to be an influencer. And I'm like, YouTuber's a bit like a 4-letter word, because as we'll probably talk about later, is YouTube here forever? Is it the one and only? I don't know. We'll see. So that's the elevator pitch, or the slightly elongated elevator pitch of my start out.
I love it. Yeah. Look, and I started out on iOS back in 2010.
Well before me. Back when you had the jailbreak.
Yeah. I got my first iPhone and was like, oh man, this is incredible. You can make music on this. And all my friends were going, you're an idiot. And I was like, I'm selling my computer. And when I got my iPad, I got rid of my computer and was like, no, this is the future. And everyone was like, no, you're an idiot. And so I was making music for a long time. And I came across your channel because there was something I couldn't work out, and went looking and was shocked at not shocked actually, because everywhere I'd gone, you'd hear this bullshit from people of like, no, but it's not a real recording. You can't record real music with it. And it's like, why? Why can't I? Like I am. Listen to this. Oh, but people were strange. And I came across your channel and you answered my question. I hung around. And but this leads to, like I can go into my story after this, finding your niche. And Thomas put it in the chat there too. It's very important, I think. And I don't I don't know if enough people actually sit down and think about it before they get into YouTube. They just go, and then before too long, they're like, I don't know why things aren't working. What's it? And it goes, but do you know like your niche is, what your little space in the world? How important is it to have a niche, Pete?
Yeah, I put it slightly differently and say that it's important to define what you are trying to achieve. So, what are your goals? What's your purpose? And you don't have to be all woo-woo about it and have like a mission statement or anything like that. But you just need to know, what does success look like for me? And I think that kind of answers the question, because I went into this niche not because I thought that there were lots of people there, or that I thought that I could become successful, or I thought this could be a full-time job. I did it because it interests me. I was passionate about it. And I think that was the key for me. If you are just about making money on YouTube right now, to be honest, would you get into? I'd say you get into AI. I mean, it's ultra competitive, but it's definitely the big thing.
Yeah.
2 years ago, what did people that wanted to make money on YouTube do? They got into cryptocurrency. They were crypto bros. Now they're AI bros. So you can follow the trends, but yeah, those niches are already pretty heavily filled by lots of bros that are going to sell you $297 courses. But if you're not passionate about it and someone else is, that comes across really quickly. So I think it is important to, yes, find your niche, but not do what like a lot of these people online are saying, like, oh, just find a niche that you don't have to even care about it. Just be slightly more expert than the people that you're trying to teach, and you'll be fine. And it's like there was one, Pat Flynn, who I don't necessarily dislike, but he started by doing a security guard course, and I'm like, I don't know why you would go down that track unless you were really passionate about it. But he saw a niche and he followed it, and clearly it was less about his passion for security guard training and more about he found something that wasn't being served. So yeah, I don't begrudge people that are all about hey, I want to do this to be an income, and that's going to be my primary, and then I'll just deal with the fact that it's not my passion. But I think, as you probably know, when you're watching whatever sort of channel you're watching, when someone, I love it, and we've talked about this because you love a lot of things too. You can tell when someone is really deeply passionate about it. It almost doesn't matter what the topic or the content is. Their passion kind of comes through with that. So that's my rant. I'm being very ranty today, but I figure, hey, I've usually got half an hour. I got like 2 hours, and it's your show, so I'm wasting all your time.
Yeah,
but
you're not wasting my time.
I know that there's folks that don't know your story about how you started, and I think you should share that with us, Jade.
Well, I love having you on the show. You are we bounce so well. We segue so much. I was saying, I think I was saying that to Ali last night. I was saying, I love having you on the show because I can bring something up and then you'll ask me and I don't have to go, because I hate that about YouTube, how there's a lot of people who always sit there and just wait for their turn. They go, and I did this, and
there's questions out there that people ask that are basically like, how do I wedge in that I did this cool thing? I'm like, have you ever interviewed any famous people? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, well, let me tell you about the time that I interviewed the bass player from Faith No More, because you see, it's like, it's pretty transparent, isn't it?
Well, and I agree 100%. Like, you got to have fun. Like, you got to enjoy the thing that you're doing. Like, there's no point. Like, a lot of people look at it, they go, YouTube is a dream job because, like, who wouldn't want to like be on YouTube and be a YouTuber? I love saying YouTuber. I'm cool with it. I guess I'm still young though in the YouTube scene. I'll get over that at some stage, but. Who wouldn't want to do this? Like, it's a really fun thing to be in control of your own life, but it's got to be fun. It's got to be something that you're interested in. And, if you are like starting a YouTube channel and jumping on a trend, something you're not interested in, then you're possibly doing it wrong, in my opinion. Of course, everything is opinions. Yes, and we all have them like assholes. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for the gifted membership there. And everybody who's joined as well, Ed Zielinski and Michael Songs, and I saw, who else? I see Tremor Bear, and I'm trying to keep up with you all. Hugh Caldwell, I think I saw someone else.
DJ Big Reds there.
DJ, Charlie Gabolden. Thank you all for joining us. Well, see, I started out on your channel, and I got a tip. You helped me, and I stayed. I hung out like a bad smell. I was like, yep, I kind of like this guy. I'm going to hang out for a bit, and got to know you a little bit. I was probably quite annoying at first, even though I wasn't trying to be. But eventually I became a moderator. And we have I think, a very old school mentality around this YouTube thing. It's almost felt like I was a moderator on your channel. I watched a lot of what you did, and then it was like, all right, Dad, I'm going out on my own now. Bye-bye. I'm going to start YouTube.
It earned your stripes and you could get in it.
And Thomas, would you like to take over for all the stuff I used to do over there? Because you've got a YouTube, and you kind of pass the torch and look after. And then we got Leela, who's, I like that whole idea of like helping people we all rise together, rising people up and lifting them up and letting them spread their wings. So, but I watched you and realized on your channel you were so focused on GarageBand and studio music and stuff like that, but apps weren't your thing. Like, there's only so much you can do. So, and you remember the days I would be in your chat constantly posting links to the App Store and answering those questions on apps. So it just was a no-brainer. There was a spot, there was a niche, and it was like, hey, apps, yeah. I buy enough of them. This could help me, like, save a bit of money too. Now I've got too many of them. But without your help too, moving onto YouTube, I would have been totally lost, because there were some things, just little things you did, just like, we'll get into those a little bit later, just little things that I was like, oh, I didn't know about TubeBuddy. And that thing continuously saves my butt all the time. And I don't know if a lot of people know about it, but we'll tell them about that. So, yeah. And the other thing, I think, for me, getting into YouTube was, the biggest battle for me was, do I remain myself or try and contain some of the expletives and my natural characteristics? And it's been a battle for a long time, but I don't think trying to contain that. Like, I've controlled that and I'm not as full on as what I can be in real life. I'm a little bit turned up to 500 in real life, but here, but I think it all comes down to, you've got to be as genuine. That's a really important part, I think, about YouTube. Let's delve into this section, because, like, you can have all the info and all the jazz and all the look of the channel, but if people don't believe you, if people don't identify you, you're fucked.
Yeah. No, it's true, and I think I've said this before on this channel and many places, but I realized very early on that Rick Beato is a better Rick Beato than me, that Joe Gilder's a better Joe Gilder than me. But there's very few people that can be a better Pete Johns than me. So being yourself, it sounds cliche, but it's 100% true. And I remember early on saying to you, and I think I phrased it like this, hopefully I didn't say, Jade, you swear too much, you bloody dickhead. But I think I said, Jade, just so you know, you're probably missing out on a subsection of viewers that are put off by the language you use. If you don't care, that's cool. But I would feel like I'm doing you a disservice if I didn't say that if you toned it down. But then I think on the flip side, I said, however, the people that love you are going to love you. So, and they'll love you for what you are, and it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier, because you won't have to be masking all the time. And I think a lot of us are masking in our lives, and especially online, because we want to present, it's the whole social media thing. We want to present this version of ourselves that is unrealistic, unobtainable, and unsustainable. And for a lot of folks, that can be a real challenge, because they look around and they see all these people with perfect lives. And I think what you've done, and what I've tried to do as well, is present a more realistic view of what it is like to do YouTube, but do it with our own sort of passion and personality injected in there, so that we're not bullshitting. We're not just making stuff look like it's shinier than it actually is, that sometimes you have tough days. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's fantastic and fabulous, but yeah, if you can make the ocean not do that, but instead do that, you can enjoy the little upticks and not be in the devastating downward spirals, then that's about the best you can do. So yeah, I think it is super important to be yourself, because you can I think there's only a limited amount of time that you can pretend. I mean, Milli Vanilli learnt this. There's only a very limited amount of time that you can pretend to be something you're not.
And people are going to meet you eventually. Like, somebody's going to come across you, and if you're totally something else, you shatter people. I can't tell you how many times I've met music when I used to interview big celebrities and stuff when I was younger, and you meet these people and you go, "Whoa, what an asshole!" I had no. So you got to be 100% real, and but you got to be protective as well too. Like I have listened to a lot of what you've said, and you've got to try to be vulnerable as much as you can, but at the same time keep this little piece of yourself that is over here that nobody's allowed to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about Pornhub, you weirdos. So at least I said prawn. So I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But you
go to OnlyFans. You got to pay.
Exactly. I choose OnlyFlams instead. But you have to keep that little piece of, and because you need to go back to that well, you have to have some kind of privacy, or if you're giving everything away, like then there's nothing to pull from the well. There's no safe space. I hate the word safe space, but you do need a safe space of your emotions, your thoughts, and not every thought needs to be turned into manifest into words, do they? I'm learning that as we go through.
I think Ed Z here says, well, you can bring out the parts of yourself that fit the situation without being inauthentic, but it's always a balance, and that's 100% true. There's people that say, I just say what I think, I tell it like it is, I call a spade a bloody spade, and that's just me. If you don't like it, you can piss off. Yeah. And as much as I have some level of respect for that, I think there's situational awareness as well. That if you're in a job interview and there's something the company did that you didn't like, I think going in there and saying, well, I'd like to work for you, but I think you're bloody assholes and you're polluting the environment, but please give me the job. And as someone who worked for a large polluting energy company before, let me tell you, I had people that interviewed just like that. And I'm like, look, you don't have to love the company. I don't want you to come in and go, oh my God, it's the best company ever. But if the first thing out of your mouth is bad mouthing the company and the industry that you're applying for a job for, probably not the right approach to go with. So I think it's exactly right that having that situational awareness of what you do. And for people that are more introverted like myself, I have what I think is like a 2x myself. Like there's this old thing where you gotta 10x yourself when you're online because you gotta be out there and wild and crazy. And I think I did that for a while. If you watch some of my earlier videos, I was like, oh hi guys, I was yelling. Like, why am I yelling? I watch them now and I'm like, what was wrong with me? I was yelling at the screen because I thought I had to 10x my personality. Yeah. And then I realized that the version of myself that works well online is a 2x version. So when you meet me, I am quieter and I am more reserved and I'm not as outspoken as I am online, because I found that if I was just myself online, it'd be like, hey, welcome to Studio Live today. I'm Pete, and today we're going to do some music, and here's what you do. And like that's fine if I'm having a chat with you, walking through the park, not on camera, but yeah, when you are actually in front of the camera. And for others, for you, and I don't know, I'm putting words in your mouth, but it might be the opposite. You kind of mentioned it before, that maybe you do have to dial it down a bit, knowing that the 100% genuine, if you're like, hey, man, that's just me, you just have to deal with it, might actually be too much for people to deal with. And whilst this is your passion and something you want to do, also can't like not have people watch. So at the same time, you got to find that balance that fits in. And look, some people criticize me for that and say, oh, you're saying you just need to fit in with what other people expect. Like, no, but if you want viewers, yes, to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is hard because like I'm a very emotional person. I wear everything on my sleeve. Like I can't help it. That's just who I've always been. And I find it hard to shut my mouth, and that's okay, but you can tell, like, and I do like it that you can tell when shit's not going well with me. Some mornings I'll get up and do this show because it's 8 a.m. we do this show, and it's like, so hi everybody, not doing well today, but that's all right because it is a very live streaming is a very parasocial thing, and it's like watching your daily soap opera, and you get to know all the characters, and you see them, and you understand when they're down and when they're up, and people actually will pick you up when they see that. It's definitely different than making pre-recorded stuff. So, but before we get there, I want to ask you, because you mentioned at the start, when you first started this, Oh, before I do move on, yeah. So turning yourself up to 11. Sorry, wrestling. I'm a big wrestling fan, right? And that's where the best wrestling, the best wrestlers are the ones who like that throughout the whole history of wrestling, you've had gimmicks, clowns, and all these stupid characters. But the best characters are always the ones who are just who they are, turned up to 110. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, these were the biggest wrestlers because they were just themselves, but turned up just a notch. So it is important just to do that, but don't go 200 because then, you're probably exposing yourself and getting arrested.
Yeah, and don't go far the other way. Like, don't try and be the opposite of what you are. Like, you see, this is where the whole incel movement come from. It's like, I've been a nice guy for so many years and it's got me nowhere. I'm going to be the exact opposite. I'm going to be a giant turd because that's what makes women like you. And it's like, no, you're just a giant turd.
Yeah. I love those guys because they're all paying for women. And they don't stay. They leave the next morning. Who were some of these YouTubers that you studied when you first got into this? And do you still watch them now?
That's a really interesting question because it was Joe Gilder and Graham Cochran. So Joe Gilder from Home Studio Corner and Graham Cochran from, I've forgotten the name of his channel, which is going to answer the next question. No, I don't watch them now. I don't watch... Here's a weird thing. Here's confession time with Johns. I don't watch a lot of music YouTubers, period. I spend so much of my time creating content and in the world of music and in music communities and in music Facebook groups. And if I want to enjoy myself, the last thing I want to do is watch a mixing tutorial or learn about a new plugin or do anything like that. So for me, I don't, and it sounds weird, I don't do that for pleasure, but I do it for work. So if I need to find out something, so there was Joe Gilder, so Home Studio Corner, he did a really great explanation of balanced versus unbalanced cables. So whenever I need a refresher on that, I've got that bookmarked so that when someone asks me a question about balance versus unbalance, what it actually means, what it does, or the technical side of it, I can go back and answer that. So that's it. I never got into sort of Rick Beato. I gravitated towards the positive guys and weirdly the religious guys, which I don't know what it is, and I don't have anything against people who choose to believe in whatever they believe in, but there's this weird underbelly of YouTube content creators that are also heavily religious.
Yes.
Which is kind of the same in a lot of categories. So both Joe and Graham are both really good dudes, but you listen to their music and it's very clear what their passion is. But I think they also had very positive attitudes towards things. And then when I looked at the snake oil guy, the yelling, screaming metal guy, the old man guy, Rick Beato, I looked at these guys.
Screaming metal guy.
The yelling, screaming metal guy. I never remember these guys' names because I don't watch them because they angry up the blood. They are very clever. They are very good at sales and marketing. But they're for a particular type of person. And it kind of comes back to what we were saying before, that it's okay that some people don't like you or your content. It's not a personal thing. They're not going to go, you're a bad person and you should feel bad. But it's okay if people just don't like what you do. And I just don't like people that skew negative. It's why I don't watch reality TV. It's why I don't watch the news, because it takes things and it deliberately amplifies them to a negative place to get reaction, to angry up people's blood and to make them react in a particular way. What's that great for? Eyeballs, views, likes, dislikes, which are just as good as likes. We'll probably talk about that a bit later as well. And inflammatory comments. I couldn't handle it. My psyche, my heart would melt if I had to deal with the level of toxicity and the level of negativity that these folks have to deal with. And look, I don't want to victim blame because I'm not saying that people should have a go at them because they are negative in their portrayal of things, but you kind of you reap what you sow, and you get back from the universe what you put out there. If you want to be all woo woo, so that's a very long answer to a very simple question, but they were who inspired me to start with, and no, I don't watch them or pretty much anyone very much anymore.
I don't watch Well, I do watch some music channels on Gear and stuff like that because, like, I may be reviewing it or an app, or and sometimes the manuals in some apps aren't that good, so you have to kind of scour for other information to find out what something does. So I do watch other stuff, but I don't watch it to get advice on how to be a YouTuber. That's the stuff I watch to get inspiration on YouTube. Is one guy in particular who I used to watch, I do watch a lot, is Renee Ritchie. but I've been following his career way back in back in the iMore, before iMore, before it was even called iMore, and now he's working for YouTube, and he dropped an amazing video today. I don't know if you've seen it yet, on thumbnails, and he had the designer for Mr. Beast's thumbnails and the head of the algorithm of YouTube. Really interesting stuff to hear how the algorithms work on our homepage and how many times they serve us a video that we're subscribed to, and how long it takes before they stop serving it to us, before they make it disappear. And they were talking about how they've tried it at like 8 and 6, and they've tried these numbers, but very interesting stuff. And the Mr. Beast guy who does the thumbnails, really interesting stuff about that. But Renee Ritchie is one of those people I watch. But the other people I watch are all just character-driven stuff on completely different subjects, on snake breeding, spiders, because to me, I feel like I'm a very character-driven YouTuber. Sure, it's a tutorial and stuff like that, but I feel like I'm a character. Hopefully, I've got some kind of character. But I love that stuff. If I watch somebody on YouTube and there's something and I don't connect with them, I'm gone. Like,
yeah, I've said this a bunch of times. That one thing I really don't like is YouTube video. I need audio. I'm an auditory learner. If you've ever done those learning style sort of analyses, I'm an auditory learner, which means I learn by listening, which is why I love audiobooks. It's why I love masterclass. It's why I love podcasts. It's why I love YouTube videos. I very rarely watch a YouTube video. I almost always am listening because I'm out walking around. I'm doing other things, but I've completely forgotten my point. Around the people and the personalities. It's so true that, for instance, I've gotten into, for reasons I can't really explain, I've gotten into watching planes, like plane spotting videos, because I just love people that are passionate about things. And these they call themselves plane jockeys. And the difference is, I've watched a few live streams and got some amazing tips from them too, by the way, around presentation and around on-screen graphics and things like that. All the stuff I don't do. So watching these things, and I was watching one. They were both streaming from LAX, and they were both doing the same thing. And one of the guys was really quirky, really funny, really engaging with the community, just a really nice dude. And the other one was kind of bland and just really didn't have a lot of energy and didn't really put it out there. And look, that may just be his personality, but I engaged with one and I didn't with the other. And I thought that's really interesting, because I think that's what we have online, and that's where your point of differentiation is. Because anyone can grab StreamYard and throw up a stream. Well, let me tell you, plenty of people are grabbing StreamYard and throwing up a stream. It doesn't mean that they're engaging with people, or maybe they haven't even thought of who their audience is. And I think one of the things that I learnt from the corporate world, it's a little bit wanky, but it's about learning who your ideal customer is and actually putting together your personas. So what is your customer persona or your viewer persona? It doesn't mean you only are delivering to those people, but it means you know who you are. So when I first started out in YouTube, my persona was basically me. It was people in their 30s and 40s that had played in bands and had a musical career, usually then gone and got a full-time job or a family, and were getting back into it now. They're the weekend warriors. Maybe they got an iPhone or an iPad and they want to get back into creating music. So that was sort of number one persona. And then it wasn't until afterwards that I found that there were two other personas that I hadn't even thought about, but I only found that out by listening to what people were saying, reading the comments, looking through the analytics, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yep.
And that was women. Because women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, like right through that gap, I realized that most music YouTubers had a 90 to 10 or a 95 to 5 ratio. And I've actually got an 80-20, which doesn't sound like it's a lot. Doesn't sound like that's a lot of women compared to the men that are in this industry. But for music YouTubers, it's a lot. And for whatever reason, I come across as non-threatening. I come across as non-toxic. I'm not negative. I'm not ranty. We have an accepting community here. And I think that has attracted in creators that perhaps had gone to other communities and was struggling because there is so much toxicity in some music creation communities. And then I was absolutely shocked by the fact that I was attracting 18 to 25-year-olds.
Yeah, that's been weird for me too.
And I'm like, what are these people? And I realized that they're the ones that are coming in watching the quick videos and then getting the hell out of here. So
Yep.
are they a great viewer? No, they're not coming to the live streams. They're not showing up in the comments. They are coming in, they're getting an answer to a problem that they have. And this is why if you have a YouTube channel like we do around apps or around how-tos or around learning, it's so important to make sure that the thumbnail's good, the title's good, the description's good, because if someone's looking for a video, they'll find that and they'll go in there. And it's why, like, people have been frustrated with me recently because I've started doing my GarageBand 5-minute tip series. And they're like, Johns, you did this 7 years ago. And I did. But guess what? When I go and look for a tutorial, if there's one that was 7 years old and one that's 1 year old or 1 month old, which one am I watching? Like, there's nothing wrong with the 7-year-old content.
Always.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and it's not for, that's it. People, again, I'm going on all sorts of tangents, but that's what these shows are all about.
Yeah.
The people that are not critical, but the people that are like, oh, we should make videos about new things. They're people that have been with me for a long time. And I've just had to say to them, tune out for the next couple of months. Just watch the live shows, but you can all but tune out on the tutorials. Because if you watched them 7 years ago, you know the stuff. But you know what? The people that are just coming or haven't yet discovered the channel, we're getting a heap more of those coming in because they're finding these quick, to the point tutorials. Especially the 18 to 25-year-olds are coming in because they're not watching a 20-minute tutorial from 2017, but they will watch a 3-minute, here's how to use the sampler in GarageBand because they want to make their fire beats. So that's where it sort of comes into that. Yes, I've still got passion for all this stuff, and yes, I like doing it, but I'm also looking at who are the people that are actually watching the channel and who are the people that are going to engage with the channel, and at the end of the day, who are going to help me, keep the lights on and pay the bills.
Yeah, because there's a point where you start out and, well, hopefully, we start off by saying, should be fun. This should be fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's a spoiler alert. We're going to end with that too because it should be fun. That's the bottom line. And I think, you can make money from this if you go into it trying to have fun. It's the people who get super disappointed and jump out of this game very quickly when they come in going, well, I'm coming in to make money here. Let's go. And it's like, oh, that didn't work like I planned, is it?
Yeah, the other drinking game thing, it's not a marathon, it's a sprint, because the amount of times that I've said that in videos and given that as advice, because it's true. And you've said it to me as well. You're like, people come in and they're frustrated because they've started doing a thing and they're like 4 weeks or even 3 months in and they're like, Jade, why aren't I as successful as you? And you're like, because I've put in 3 years. And then people will say to me, why aren't I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking all your tips. I'm doing everything you're doing. Why aren't I getting the same results as you are? And I'm like, I've been doing this for 8 years. Like there's no substitute for, it's like YouTube is, yes, people see that, sometimes very occasionally there's these people that come out and they just pop out of nowhere with a viral video. It's like, how come they get a viral video and I don't? But for the 90% of us in YouTube land, it's more like farming. And in farming, you plant a seed, you grow a crop. You can't reap it until it's grown. If you go in there trying to dig up your carrots a week after you've planted them, you know what you're going to find? Freaking carrot seeds. You're not going to actually have a carrot after a week or 2 weeks. You have to wait for it to actually mature. And it's the same with YouTube. So sorry, I'm very ranty today, Jay.
Yeah,
give me this if you need to.
That's why I got you here. Well, great guitarists didn't just pick up their fucking guitar and just go, hey, I'm now doing guitar clinics after a week. It's the same with YouTube. You've got to put in really, really hard. You've got to go for it. If you really want to go for it, you have to go hard all the time. You have to live, breathe, shit YouTube. You just have to. And, I get people saying to me, I'm always like, when am I going to get a break from this? And sometimes I took a break this weekend. And knowing full well that I'm going to come back and the whole channel is just going to go down the shitter because I'm still at a very early stage. But when you've got to grind, you've got to grind and grind and grind, but at the same time find balance. It's very, very hard. One of the things you handed to me when I first started this channel was a little thing called TubeBuddy.
Mm.
And I'll let you explain what TubeBuddy is, but I'll just tell you, before you get into it, folks, if you haven't used TubeBuddy and you're under 1,000 subscribers, look into it, sign up, because you'll get TubeBuddy at a dirt cheap price of like $1.90 a month for being under 1,000 subscribers. And this thing just gets integrated into your YouTube and it helps so much. What is TubeBuddy, Pete?
Yeah, so I again when I started out with YouTube, I started doing the thing that everyone does, which is like how searching on YouTube, how to be a successful YouTuber. And a lot of people were talking about two different tools. There was one called vidIQ and there was one called TubeBuddy. And I started using TubeBuddy because there's a free download, so you can use it right out. You can download it for free. You get very sort of limited features if with the free version. But what it is, it's a YouTube enhancement tool. So when you start out with YouTube, you probably don't know what you're doing. You're like my thumbnail, I'll just choose a still from the video and I'll chuck it up there. My title doesn't matter. Who cares about titles anyway? My description, I'll just put whatever I want in there. What are tags? I'm sure they don't matter. I'm not going to worry about anything to do with that. But what TubeBuddy does is it actually analyzes your video and it lets you know things like how it puts up your thumbnail before you release a video. It'll do a search and find other videos on the same topic, and you can see how your thumbnail looks against all the other ones. So if everyone else has got a black thumbnail with white text, you can suddenly go, why don't I do a bright red thumbnail like Jade did today with big text on it to be contrasting to that? It'll do things like tell you how you rank. So ranking is how you rank in both Google and YouTube search. So if you put out a video, so for me who does tutorial videos, if I put out a video about how to connect your iPhone to an audio interface, I can actually find out, hey, am I the number one video, 3, 5, 7, or how am I actually ranking in the YouTube search without having to, go into incognito mode and search it all out manually. So it gives you a bunch of tools to really help you, and it helps you learn. And to be honest, I don't use it much anymore, only because I've got to the point now where I kind of play the prediction game. I've been doing this for so long, I'm 3,500 videos in. So I now go in there and I put in all my tags and description and everything. And not that I'm perfect or anything, but I kind of match it up exactly with what it needs to be. That being said, as we talked about, the goalpost shift, drink, a lot of the time, and you're building on borrowed land, drink. So it will change again. And that's where TubeBuddy has been constantly updating, adding features and putting new things in. And look, I'm not sponsored by TubeBuddy. I think I have an affiliate link still in my descriptions from way back. I think you took it up.
Yep.
So you can check it out. Use Jade's affiliate link. It's probably in the description of this video if you want to check it out. But yeah, it's just a cool way to learn, and it's all based on exactly your channel. So when you upload a video, it'll tell you everything about that video. You can also do overall channel analytics, so you can look at your whole channel as a whole and make sure that everything's healthy. It does like a health report on your channel if you're at a high enough tier that you're paying for. So yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff in there. If you're starting out with YouTube, I would recommend getting it and trying it, at least the free version, see if you like it.
Absolutely. And as I said, when you sign up, you say I have under 1,000 subs, and you'll get it dirt cheap. And I think, I still get it at the same price, even though I'm over 1,000 subs. I don't know how they know but it's still happening. But and the other cool thing about it too is you can, if you go, because it's integrated, it integrates into your YouTube on your web browser. When you go to somebody else's channel, it shows you their statistics against yours. So just a really fascinating stat to see, and against things that are similar to you. I really love it. Even Thomas says here, even the free version is nice. Shows you tags on all videos, other channels, and SEO scores. So it's just a helpful little thing to give you, because sometimes the YouTube statistics and information can be a little bit overwhelming and confusing, and having this integrated in just makes it nice. I really like it.
Yeah, that feature that Thomas mentioned there is gold, because what it actually does is, you can go to any video and it will show you, as Thomas says, the tags and the obviously the title and the description. It kind of gives it a rating on that one, and that's helped me a heap of times, because as much as I like to say that the high tide raises all ships and that it's not a competitive thing, it also kind of is. Like, I wouldn't be redoing all these GarageBand videos if I didn't want those to bubble to the top of the search results, and being able to go in and see who does have the #1 video for GarageBand iOS sampler, what tags did they use, what title did they use, what description did they use, and getting TubeBuddy to analyze it actually really helps me out, because if I want to be right up there with that video, I'll need to know what it is. And look, it even helps. I remember early on, I'm going to call out, name drop Gary Hubbs, because Gary is a longtime supporter of you and me and this community. And he was putting out videos, And I remember I was doing a video like this about YouTube, and I actually brought up TubeBuddy, and I looked at Gary Hubbs' video, and I said, Gary, you got some opportunities here. You can put a bunch of tags. Look, tags aren't as important now in 2024 as they were a few years back,
True.
but still relevant. You can put a bunch of tags, but I said to him, you got an opportunity here, because the number one thing that the YouTube hack, if you came here to get this one weird trick will help your YouTube channel forever. The one weird trick is to make sure that you always create a watch chain. And so that doesn't mean like, dangling your watch, you are getting sleepy. But a watch chain just means that once someone's watched something of yours, make it dead simple for them to watch the next thing. And there's 3 ways to do that. Number 1 is the first line of your description. Straight under that. So your first line of your description should be, in this video, Pete and Jade talk about YouTube. And then the next line should be, did you like this? Watch more here. And it should link to a playlist or a video. In your comment section, put the first comment. You'll notice that in every single video I have, the very first comment is from me, and it says, here's a link to my playlist about GarageBand essentials, whatever it is, whatever's relevant to that video, put that as the first comment, and then pin that so that when people are watching the video, you're watching it right now, you can pin a comment directly underneath that video, and that can do that. And then third is your end screen. So when you're doing YouTube, and this is, again, TubeBuddy can help with things like end screens as well to help optimize them. But on your end screen, I used to mention it. I used to say, you'd hear this if you watch YouTube videos. People would be like, oh, and now you can watch a new video here, or you can watch an old video here, and they'll point to the parts of the screen where it puts it on. I used to do that. Now I just end it, but I make sure that between 5 and 10 seconds before the end, it pops up. And I usually use the best for viewer. So in YouTube, you can either choose a specific video, specific playlist, or go best for viewer. And as you were saying with Renee Ritchie before, who's like the creator liaison at YouTube, from listening to what he said and what others have said, that best for viewer one is pure gold, because that will personally choose and select a video, sometimes of yours, sometimes not, but usually of yours, that viewer would like to actually watch. So if you put best for viewer in there more often than not, then if someone's just watched one of your songs, so I said to Gary back in the day, if someone's just watched one of your metal songs, make sure it's a playlist of your metal stuff, or it's best for viewer, and then put, hey, really like metal? Check out my whole metal playlist here. People click that, and suddenly they're in that watch train, and they're going to keep watching your videos. So that's the sort of the 3-prong approach of being a little selfish, sure. And look, sometimes when we do things like this, like you use that dump feature that we have, where we can actually send people to other channels. So that's a good way to kind of cross-contaminate. That's not all right. Cross-pollinate communities. Is it contamination? Let's use pollination instead. You can cross-pollinate communities by doing it's like the old Twitch charades is basically where it all came from, to get people to somewhere else. So if you want to pay it forward, you can do that as well. But hopefully that's an aha moment for some folks out there that are like, oh, why do people only ever watch one of my videos and then leave? Give them the easiest possible path to watch more.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the way the algorithm works from YouTube, I've been watching a lot, and there is a YouTube creator channel. If you don't know about it, you really should sign up to it, because that's where they release announcements for what's going on with YouTube, for things that are coming up, the changes to certain things. It's really worthwhile to be signed up to them. But the way from one of the videos I was watching today from YouTube, they were talking about how the algorithm works, and it is really important that viewer sending what to the viewer's selection is, because we all have our own algorithm, believe it or not. This is why they have tried many, many things. They've tried to say, all right, how many times do we show this video to somebody in their home feed? We'll try 6, we'll try 8. They've had to try and make the algorithm work for each particular person around what your watch habits are, because it wasn't working. Because sometimes I get something pop up in my home screen saying, you might want to watch this. And I do, but there's 3 other things I want to watch first. And so I'm going to click that one first, and then I'm going to click this one, and then I'm going to eventually get to that one. So I want that to keep coming up on my home screen. Or you just do what I do sometimes, just right-click them all and open up a million tabs. So I have them ready to watch, and then I don't get around to it, and my computer shuts down, the power goes out, or some weird stuff. But the other thing about TubeBuddy that's really cool too, that I love, is you can actually save like tags. You can save under a tag, call it like how to app, and put all your tags that you use for how to app in that. And then when you create a new video, you just go to your tags and hit how to app, and it just populates them with all those tags. You might do a special on GarageBand, and it puts, or Pete Johns, and I can just have all your tags in there. It's really handy for just filling out those fields very quickly.
Yeah.
So, and you know, you'll agree with me on this. Anything that saves time on YouTube is worth more than anything else.
It is true, yeah. If you haven't done it yet, if every time you upload a video, you're manually putting in all your stuff, go into your setting. Even if you don't have TubeBuddy, you can go into your settings and you can set up your defaults. So make sure that your default is set to like unlisted, for instance, so that you don't have to change it from public to unlisted every time you release something. You can have default category, you can have default genre. Like there's a bunch of defaults in there if you dive into the YouTube settings. In fact, that's going in my list of video ideas for future, because I think I should probably do a video on how to set your defaults when uploading to YouTube.
That's going to bring me to my next question I have here. How do you organize your ideas for your shows? Is it organized? Do you have it saved? Or are you a bit like me where you just go, I'll just do this?
It's a bit of both. A little from column A, a little from column B. Hang on, update.
You're doing it now.
Defaults in YouTube uploads. Yeah. So what I just did then is opened up my Studio Live Today recent and ideas folder. So I've got 3 folders in OneNote. I'm a bit of a OneNote fan, only because I used to use it in my day job, and it was just easier because I could pretend that I was doing real work in OneNote while I really had a separate OneNote document that was just for Studio Live Today that I would open up and use in the background, even when I was doing my real job. Don't tell anyone. I don't think that they can take my money away now. But I would have this open, and basically it has my completed stuff. So that's like an archive of everything that I've done. It has my recent / upcoming, and then it has my templates. So I've got a whole array of templates for all my live shows, and that's just basically all the tags, all the description defaults that I use, all the titling defaults that I use for everything. So I'm looking at now, I've got standard video, Logic Pro video, GarageBand video, podcast, Your Music Live, Happy Hour, GarageBand weekly. And so when I'm setting up one of those shows in StreamYard, I just go copy, paste, set up, and that makes that easy. In the OneNote as well, all my recent ones and upcoming is all the ideas. So if I'm ever at a loss, I just go to this idea, and to be honest, I just kind of pick one that I feel like doing on the day. So it's a joy. I don't plan it out weeks in advance. The joy of what I do is like, do I feel like something complicated or easy today? So the other day I was like, I've got a bit of energy today. I'm going to do Alchemy Synth. So I went to my Alchemy Synth one, and I already had the 15 different points I wanted to make in my Alchemy Synth video laid out. And then I could just make the video, put those points across as the timestamps, create a thumbnail, and chuck it out. And then, yeah, the complete stuff is just the archive. So I've got a couple of 1,000 pages in that one of every video that I've done from 2017 to now. And yeah, it's all just saved in there. So I don't think you need to be quite as detailed as that, but basically have exactly as you said before, you don't have to have all these automated systems, but anytime you do something more than 3 or 4 times, ask yourself a question. Is there somewhere I can put this rather than having to recreate it every time? And I don't care if you put it in your notepad or a Word document, an Excel document, a OneNote, a Evernote, or wherever you want to store it. Then just make sure that you're not spending all that time. Because for me, and if you're a musician, for instance, every time you put out a video onto YouTube, you probably want to have a standard format. You want to put in there the title of the song, a link to where you can buy it, your lyrics, maybe some behind the scenes notes on that, maybe who played on it. So if you're collaborating, so why not, instead of every time going, oh, how am I going to format this? Just make yourself one document once, and then every time you release a song to YouTube, paste that in, fill in the blanks, and hit upload, and you're going to save yourself a buttload of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you taught me that too. I have notepads on my iPhone, iPad for my interviews, ideas who I want to interview. The list is huge, and I'll go in and pick and kind of look at what people are releasing and what songs have come out, and then look down that list and see not who's relevant at the time, but who's doing the most and if it fits in, you know. Same with ideas for shows, rants. Like I have the same thing set up. Ideas for rants, ideas for shows, apps that I see come out during the week. Like I'm a part of like so many Facebook groups that I see what gets released, put it in the little notepad, and then go through and send emails out to all of those developers to try and get codes to be able to do the show. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of doing a show like this. Like, this is the easy part. Like,
It is.
hitting stream and sitting there and going blah, 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 blah. That's the fun part. All that stuff behind the scenes is the really hard stuff. Another thing I like to point out, and Thomas does this, and a few other people. If you're a mod, because we'll talk about mods, and once we get to live streaming, but one of the things we've been doing for the longest time as mods, if I can go full screen here, is especially if you've got an iPhone or an iPad, in your general settings. So here we are, general settings, and you can hit text replacement. You can go in here and put words in, like you can see here, I've got like HTA. So whenever I type HTA into a chat, it creates my web address. You can do this for emails. I've even got, look, ducking as fucking. So it's always going to fix that up for me whenever I type and get it wrong. And so you can do this also with like links to people's pages. You can fill out that text with whatever you want, the whole link and everything, and go and check out Pete John's here. Here's his link. And you could put that as just PJ. So every time you type PJ, bang, you're done. So because I know a lot of people like make templates when they're moderators in notepads on a desktop. But if you are on an iOS device, you can do this as well. So there are lots of little shortcuts you can do to make the experience of being a moderator a lot easier, because, you know, there is a trend now of giving everybody moderators. I don't agree with it. It's your thing. You do you boo, whatever works, because sometimes someone's going to come in eventually and fuck your channel up. And it's happened. It has happened. Look, I'll rant very briefly on that. Give me 30 seconds on the clock. But I highly recommend only having a small number of moderators. And yes, some people might get their feelings hurt. And yes, it might make it harder to do things sometimes. And yes, it means that spammers might come in and get to say a few more extra spammy things before they get booted. But I think it's very high risk to make a lot of people or everyone moderators, because things change over time, people change over time, and as you grow and scale, it is unsustainable practice to do. So that's my 2 cents on that. Take it or leave it, don't care. But I would highly recommend having a small group of trusted moderators, no more than 1% of your total. So you've got 100 subscribers, you should have one moderator. You got 200, two moderators, 1,000, maximum 10, and that's even pushing it. So that's my my hot take on that. And, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize, I know I've told this to people, because some channels, and I'm not like picking on anyone when I say this, say they give moderators to everyone so they can click, because you used to be able to right click on people's names and go to their channel, and they took that away. So that sucks, obviously. But in saying that, a lot of people I've heard say, but if you give people moderator, then people can post links. It's like, there is an actual setting in YouTube that allows you to tick the box without giving somebody a moderator, so everybody can type links. If you want to, you don't need to give them a moderator. That is a thing as well. So just there are these things that are out there to be able to cover all of that. Pete, how important are stats over content? Hang on a minute. Hold that thought. I'll let you think about it for a minute.
Oh, yes.
Because, of course, have to run an advert. Got to pay the bills. Let's do it.
I feel like dickhead.
Every day on the channel, we run an ad, because I find this to be a much better way of putting the ad out. Nobody loses any time, and we wait for you to come back. So we'll run the ad. And if you can avoid the ad by becoming a YouTube Premium subscriber, or just deal with the ad, come back, we'll wait for you. We'll give you a few seconds. They're normally skippable. That's another thing. They've changed the rules again with ads again. They just keep...
Don't skip ads, folks. Don't skip ads. Don't block ads.
They just keep moving the goalposts, YouTube, at the same time. But all right, so how important are stats over content, high deep gravity as well?
Stats are important to help guide you in your next step and next decision, and that is all. So I have railed against vanity metrics for a very long time. You know that, and many people in the community know that. I think that people get fixated and people, by people I mean me. I'm putting my hand up here. When I first started out, I became fixated on growing my subscriber number, not actually realizing why I wanted to grow my subscriber number, what that meant, if that was even a good thing to do. But I really wanted to have more subscribers. And when I say early on, for the first few years, I didn't even look at it because I wasn't really focused focused on YouTube. But as soon as I went, right, this is my thing, and I got past that first 1,000 subscribers, I was like, when can I get to 2,000? When can I get to 10,000? I want 1,000,000. So yeah, it gets very overwhelming. And I blame YouTube for this because
Yeah.
they put it so front and center and they make it seem like the most important thing in the world to have subscribers, to the point where you can't join the YouTube partner program till you have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours and other things. So they kind of drove that obsession with these what are called vanity metrics, because they really are just that. They're for clout, they're for flexing on people, they're for trying to say, well, you've only got 100 subscribers and I've got 1,000, thus me better than you. And it's just simply not the case. In fact, it can be a lot worse than that. I'll rant on that in just a sec. But no, in terms of how important they are, yeah. But here's the thing: like I chatted to other YouTubers and used to have sort of a regular catch up with people, and they would obsess about stats and numbers and things,
Yes.
and they would obsess about the growth. And they're like, "Oh man, oh no, I only added another 1,000 subscribers last month." And I'm like, so how many you got now? And they're like 30,000. I'm like, so you in 1 month you added 1,000 subscribers and now have a 30,000 base. Do you realize that in the real world, in the real business world, if someone had a 3% month over month growth rate, therefore equivalent to like a 24% over a year, that's not right, 36% over a year, that they would be high-fiving and celebrating in the boardroom? Like, that is a massive and amazing growth. But I think in the world of YouTube, people don't consider that good because they're like, but Mr. Beast has 10 million. And it's like, yeah, but you're not Mr. Beast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's not worth comparing. And so there's a lot of compare and contrast. The important metrics for YouTube are your engagement. So that's things like your click-through rate. So are you putting up a compelling title and thumbnail and video that people actually want to watch? So that's the stat that I look at. I don't care about the subscribers. I do care about how many views I get on a video, but even that's not particularly controllable. And my method's always been, just throw it out there. And weirdly enough, the ones I put all the effort into are the ones that fall on their face, and the videos that I whip up in half an hour are the ones that are going to get 100,000 views. And sometimes you just can't predict that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you want to, if you're looking at YouTube and you want to take YouTube seriously, your click-through rate, which is of how many people actually click or tap on your thumbnail to watch your video based on how many are presented with it. And that can be, for a bad video, that'll be like 2%. So 100 people were shown your thumbnail and only 2% of people tapped it. Yeah, you probably need to work on that one. If it's 10%, hey, 1 in 10 people, that's pretty good. Of all the people on YouTube that were presented it actually tapped it and watched it. And then, yeah, it all comes down to the views, because especially if this is your full-time gig or you want to actually monetize your YouTube channel, views are where it's at. Views generate ad watches and ad watches generate revenue. Subscribers generate nothing, and that's what people miss. They miss the point that subscribers generate nothing. And I give this warning all the time. I know people are sick of hearing it, so I apologize if you've heard me say this a lot of time. But if you subscribe to a channel that you have zero intention of ever watching again because you're doing them a favor by subscribing to get their numbers up, you're actually doing a disservice to that person, because you are now part of a dead subscriber pool. And as someone that has a very large dead subscriber pool, it's actually quite a challenge, because people look at me and they're like, you got 100,000 subscribers and you only get like 500 views on a video. Why is that? And it's like, because early on, I encouraged everyone that watched a video about how to pick gunk out of your headphone jack to subscribe to my channel. They are clearly people that are never going to come back and never watch another video. So now that's actually punishing. And if you're a musician, if you've got 100 subscribers and they're all passionate and 80 of them watch every time you put out a video, that's great. If you've got 1,000 subscribers because you had 900 pity subs and only 80 people watch your video, YouTube sees that, their algorithm sees that, and less people will be presented your videos in the future. And that's just the reality of the situation. So friends don't let friends subscribe to channels they don't watch.
Absolutely. Like, and it's so true. Like, people have just got into. I think it became like a breeding ground for YouTubers too, to just go, subscribing is important, and people just thought that was the right way to go. But as YouTube have stated, they have said this themselves,
they learned
the amount of subscribers means shit. Dead subscribers. You don't want dead subscribers. You want people to interact and engage, because if it's just not the way to go. I find that stuff really fascinating, because we still are in the age where people are constantly drilling home subscribers, and it's just not right. And I remember when I started doing this, my click-through rate for the longest time was like 1.7. I think mine's currently at around 11 or something like that. And I still look at it and go, only 11. But you're right, like 11's like, it's actually quite good. Like,
and 11's great because you've got an active participatory subscriber base. So the problem is, and this is the other caveat, do not under any circumstances buy subscribers or views or follows. Just don't do it. There's so many reasons why you shouldn't, including getting banned and including supporting dodgy gangsters with third world wage slaves. But for selfish reasons, don't do it because it's actually going to impact you really negatively. Because if Jade Starr went out right now and increased her subscriber base to 10,000, what's that going to do to your click-through rate? They're not real subscribers.
Yeah.
So every time your video goes out, it's going to present your video to these subscribers that aren't watching anything, and your 11% is suddenly going to be a 2% because you've added all these artificial subscribers and viewers that are going to get presented your video and simply never watch it. And I know some people say, but some people, Johns, you can get to subscribe and then give you 100 hours of watch time per subscriber because they're doing all this botting. And I'm like, yeah, which is even worse because your likelihood of getting caught if you're doing botted views as well as botted subscribers is almost 100%. Because guess what? YouTube have got smarter people than you working on their algorithms and working on their security teams. So if you think you're outsmarting a $1 trillion company that owns all of our data and kind of our souls, then you got another thing coming. You are not smarter than them.
And your people see it. Like, people aren't stupid. Like, people see what goes on a channel. Like, I've been at channels where before a live stream started, all of a sudden, like, you get there and there's like 10 people waiting for a stream to start, and all of a sudden the likes go from 3 to 400. And it's like, but there aren't 400 people here. Like, it to me, it makes I look at that channel then and go, wow, you're dodgy as fuck. And again, like, it's not sustainable because I know some people want to get to monetization, and I understand that. People want to make some money back from this and try and make a thing of it. But even if you get, like, I've seen some channels who have cheated and got to this point, and then they've got monetized, and then before a very, very short period of time, they've lost their monetization. Why? Because they're not making any money. I know a channel who was only using their channel. They weren't running ads. They had ads. They weren't running any ads on any of their videos, just super chats, but they had the 1,000 monetization for ads, and they lost their monetization because YouTube said, well, this ain't how it works. Like, this is the way you're just using it. They got cancelled. So YouTube can take away your money at any time. It just, it's not worth rigging the system. Now, I've done shows here on the channel about paying legitimately for advertising from YouTube. And
that is very different.
But it is still similar, all right? Because when you do get the results from it, when you look at the results, it looks very much similar to botting. Like, it depends on which countries you choose to view. Like, if you go worldwide, you will get a lot of the same places that bots use from, like, India and Southeast Asia. And this, like, overall, my opinion on doing it, I've done it for a few videos. Sure, I got a lot of views on it, but it did absolutely fuck up all my other statistics that I worked so hard for, because all those views, no matter what, even if you're paying Google for ads, still only come in at 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Then they're not full watches. That's the way it is.
It is. And a couple of things on monetization, and then Lady Campion's got a question, which I'll address in a second about click-through rate. But monetization is different when it comes to different countries. So a lot of people don't realize that once you're monetized, depending where your views are coming from, so coming from the US and Australia and Canada and the UK and Europe, it's usually higher. Why? Because advertisers are putting more advertising in those countries and they're selling more products through the ads that they're putting on YouTube. For what it's worth, if in India and the Philippines and in other places where there's lower wages, there's less advertising and they pay lower rates. So remember, all we're just getting a percentage of the advertising revenue.
Yep.
So it's not like people say, how much do you get per view on YouTube? Not the right question to ask. How many views do you get per click on an ad or for ad watch on YouTube? Not a relevant question. The question is, how much do you get paid in a scenario where a person in the west coast of the USA who has an average income of $100,000 is watching a video and chooses to click on a 30-second ad and engages with that ad? Because it varies, it depends. I know people want simplicity. They want me to go 1 cent per view, but
It don't work like that.
Doesn't work like it.
No.
Averages out. Just you can put those numbers, but it doesn't work. And to answer the click-through rate question, it's not actually of subscribers. It's of people who are presented it. So it's a mixture. It's a combination of people that get it presented through the homepage, their homepage, through a watch page, through that thing down the side, through that thing underneath,
Your subscription page, who you subscribe to.
Yep, or a notification or an alert that they do. So basically, anytime someone sees your thumbnail on mobile or desktop, that's called an impression. And every impression can or cannot have a click through. So if you are presented, if there's 100 impressions of your thing to various people's eyeballs across various platforms, whether they're subscribers or not, you can see the click through. You can also dive into your YouTube analytics, and there's heaps of data under there, and you can see the difference between subscriber and non-subscriber click through. So yeah, it's all there. But when people talk click through rate, it's usually a combination of everyone who's been given the opportunity. That's the way I like to look at it. If they've been given the opportunity to tap or click on your video, they either have watched it or they haven't watched it. And sometimes, as you know, you can get an impression of the same video 5 times and not watch it. And that can actually impact the click-through rate because it's on a impression and there can be multiple impressions per user. So when people like me and Jade, they're like, I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that. And they keep looking at it when that creator's probably like, damn you, Johns, just click my video.
Yeah, that's why I normally will now, especially on you can't do it on iPad, unfortunately, but on a computer, if you see if you go to your homepage, you see like 5 videos that you like from your friends or whatever, right click on all of them and open them all in tabs so you're ready to go, and you're hitting that first impression and you're helping them out. Like these are, this information isn't always out there and it is very unclear, and even to us. Like I sit there scratching my head going, I mean, there's so many things I could talk about. Remember when I got banned, how frustrating that was.
Yeah, and it will change. That's the other thing. Like the only thing that stays the same is that things will change. Someone said that once. So we can give you all this advice now. And if we did this exact show in 12 months' time, it could be all different. I could be like, buy as many subscribers as you can. Apparently it's the new good thing to do for YouTube, but I doubt it.
Pete, how important are thumbnails?
Yeah. Sometimes they're really important and sometimes they don't matter at all. Which is the reality of it. Usually they are important. So more so these days than ever, as more people vertically doom scroll on their mobile devices, thumbnails that are actually going to catch people's attention are more important than ever. If you've watched me, you'll have noticed that I haven't quite drunk all of the Kool-Aid, but I've definitely changed things up in recent times. So early on, so here's the thumbnail mistakes I made, and this will probably tell you sort of the progression of things. Early on, I put all the information I possibly could. How to connect a USB device to an iPad or an iPhone using a Lightning to USB 3 adapter in like black text on a white background with a picture of this and a picture of that. And I made it no, people are watching on a device that's this size. Like that's what you got to consider, is that when you're thinking about a thumbnail for YouTube, it's got to be something that someone that like me, that's scrolling through like this on their phone is going to go, oh, John Oliver, I like him. And you're going to tap that as opposed to all the information. Like there's a good one. I'm looking at Rodecaster Pro stuff there. And this one is just big and it's got 5 tips and tricks and a picture of the Rodecaster Pro. And for me, that's struggling to learn how to use my Rodecaster Pro, that one's going to get a tap and it's going to go save to watch later. And I'm going to go check out that video after the show. So that's the way I think that we've evolved with thumbnails. So yes, very important to get them right, and less is more in the world of thumbnails. So if you've got more than 3 to 5 words on your thumbnail, you've probably got too many. And if the picture on your thumbnail is not relevant, now there's the slippery slope between relevant thumbnails that people might click through and absolute scammy, spammy clickbait. And I don't know where that balance is right now, except that the way I look at it is, if you put in something that is intriguing but related to the video, then that's cool. So for instance, I did one recent, I can't even remember the example of it, but the one I did yesterday, which was rad synths. And then it was all about how to use synths in GarageBand. Like putting rad in there that was just a bit of fun because I wanted to do it. But for Alchemy synths, I'm like, best free synth on iPad, question mark? And me going, murr. That's sort of people will go, oh, I wonder what is the best free. Oh, it's only Alchemy. But for most people, they'll be like, oh wow, Alchemy. Yeah, I forgot about Alchemy. That's cool, and it probably is the best free synth on iPad. Okay, I'm going to go and play with it again. So, I think that you do have to skirt a little more. That I was ultra conservative. I hated clickbait so much, and I thought scammy people were the worst. So I didn't do it at all. And now I like to think that I'm somewhere in between. I still haven't quite opened my mouth in my thumbnails, but it won't be far off because the classic YouTube thumbnail is open mouth, shock, point at thing, and have thing floating in space and be like, best mic ever? Oh, so yeah, we're not far away.
I used my little AI character for the longest time and had so many people hate it. So many people told me they hated it. And it was like, but there was a reason behind it too, because like everybody else was going, and I wanted to do something different. Plus, I was not confident when I first started on YouTube of showing my face. And I started, if you go back to my old videos, I was never on camera. So that was the way to get around it. Then over time, people got like, nah, but we want to see who you are. And it's like, yeah, I know. But so I'm just going to bring this channel up here. So this is the Creator Insider YouTube channel. You really should go and subscribe to it. Trust me, it's worth your time. Look at the top videos here for you. Community guidelines, everything you need to know. The YouTube algorithm, YouTube algorithms myths busted. This one dropped today. This is rad YouTube algorithms plus thumbnails. And the thing I got from this one today with Chucky, who's Mr. Beast's thumbnail, that's what I'm talking about, this, is that faces aren't important. Like you can't, faces do work for a lot of people, but sometimes they don't, especially if you're somebody who's not big and not recognizable. Right. But what the big thing I did get from that discussion they had was what's more important than anything else is consistency. Right. You don't have to look like everyone else's thumbnail. If you can get your thumbnails to look consistent and people recognize them, that's why I've still stuck with my little bands across the top and now the current ones. But I've tried to diversify and keep those ones as app tutorials. But anything else that's not an app tutorial, like today's show, is these bigger ones like this. Because it defines that this is something different. So these are things that you should think about. And in relation to spammy stuff, the Chucky from Mr. Beast said, try not to be spammy. The best ways around not being spammy is, like you said, Pete, a question mark. Is this worth your time? Is this a question mark? Works really well. Because if people load up your video enough times and it's not actually about what you're telling them, they will fuck off.
Yeah.
It's true. Lily Pillies, Manny has a question here. How do you get a video from the topic channel to match up on your actual channel? Sometimes it's automatic, but sometimes it doesn't work and doesn't match up.
So I'm assuming, so
DistroKid.
Yeah, DistroKids. If you're releasing with DistroKids, so for those that don't know, the way a topic channel works is that if you've got a artist channel on YouTube, so when you start a YouTube channel, it's a regular channel, and then if you're a musician, you can actually request to change it to an artist channel, which is where you get that little musical note next to it, which I believe the Lily Pillies have done. And then what should happen is when you release, instead of it releasing to your separate topic channel, which is just where your music goes and it doesn't link, it should automatically link that release to your artist channel instead of the topic channel. It sounds like the Lily Pillies are getting some releases put on their topic channel when it should be going to their actual channel. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing, but DistroKid have a fixer tool that might work for that. We can go in and say, here's the problem. This isn't linked to this. Can you link it to that?
Helpful. I think it's under helpful when needed. So fixer, move your music on or off your page for streaming. So I don't know if it is going to work for that.
No, because more for Spotify. It's usually if it's put it onto the wrong profile on Spotify, it may just be a delay thing that is not going across there, or it may be. So DistroKid actually have, despite what some videos may say, pretty good support. You just have to get to the bit where you can actually ask the question. So yeah, I've got, if you go to studiolivetoday.com/DistroKid, I've got kind of like a shortcut to getting there. Yeah, so that's how you apply for it originally, isn't it? That's how you link up.
So it's under special access, and then you find YouTube official artist channel. You choose your artist from here. Choose your artist, say despised. It asks you, I don't have a YouTube channel. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. And then it takes a little while to get connected to, if you want to go ahead and do this. But yeah, my suggestion, as Pete said as well, is to reach out and see if they can fix that. And because sometimes they can do that. It's, the other thing too, with that fix it thing, this isn't a slide off DistroKid because there are employers who love DistroKid. But sometimes if you're having issues with your songs on Spotify, sometimes you get two artists, the same artist name. You may have done a cap on one, capital letter on one and the other one. You can actually contact Spotify through their, there is a link with some searching, and they can do it for you right there and then in a live chat. And it's really quick, and I've done it a couple of times. It's actually faster than going through DistroKid because they can do it like that. But everything else is Spotify. No, see you later.
Yeah. And look, I must admit, I'm not an expert on this because I, for many reasons, can't change my channel to an artist channel because it's not a music first channel. It's a tutorial first channel. So I would need to create a separate channel, which I kind of do. I have a Pete John's Music YouTube channel, which I could make my artist channel if I wanted to. So maybe I need to do that in the future just to help people like this. But yeah, because Manny says I have a video on a topic channel with 1,000 views I want on my channel. And it should be. I'm just not sure that, I know that for future releases it does that. I don't know that if you've released it before. I thought it all merged together. I thought anything on your topic channel came across to your artist channel, but if it's not, it might be a YouTube issue. So you might need to go through YouTube support, which, as we know, works sometimes.
Yeah. Live streaming tips. You got any tips to start live stream? Just maybe a few things somebody can do to ensure that their stream looks good, sounds good, and has enough content.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I answer this, we've got about half an hour left. So if anyone else has questions, maybe put a queue in front just so that Jade can see them and tag them. So any questions you have, we'll try and get to in the next 30 minutes. But live streaming is something that I couldn't do because in Australia, we had very poor internet. I used to be on a DSL line, which basically used the old copper wires from the phone line. And I had like 1 megabit down and like half a megabit up. So I couldn't actually live stream. And when we finally got decent internet, I started doing live streaming more often, and I'll sort of talk to the mistakes that I made originally, which were not having a clear topic and going too long. And I think that that's the number one bit of advice I give people that are starting out with live streaming now is to have a topic when you are starting with live streaming. Otherwise, it's very easy to get into we're just hanging out and lots of ums and ahs and not actually having a focus or a purpose. And then also not having an end time, because if you don't have an end time, it's very easy to go open-ended and it's very easy to go way too long because you're enjoying it. And look, it's fun. But the best bit of advice with anything in life is leave folks wanting more. And if you hang around so long because you're like, this is fun, and there's when you're starting out, 4 or 5 people watching can be really fun, or 10 people or 20 people, and you're like, I want to just keep going and going and going. But that means that your replay view is not going to be there. If someone sees a 2.5 hour live stream that they weren't there for, they're not going to watch the replay of it. They're simply not, because unless it's something like really specific and focused, like Your Music Live that I do, or like some of your interview shows that are very focused on a person and their past and their history, then it's not going to be a great thing. So when you're starting out, and we'll talk technical in a minute if you want to, but when you're starting out, couple of things is to practice to yourself. So you don't have to. A lot of people don't know this. They're like, I'm too nervous to go live. Record your own
stream. Record it and then go watch what you've just... Because you can do it. Most software allows you to do it. StreamYard,
everything.
Restream, OBS, they let you record it. Go and watch it. That's the best way.
Even your phone. If you don't have any gear and you don't want to get into the technical side of it, if you've got an iPhone or an Android phone, go to the YouTube app, tap on live stream, just make sure it's set to unlisted.
Yep.
Put your phone up there and talk to it for 10 minutes.
Go watch it back.
Talk for 10 minutes. Look at how do you engage with it. Do you make sure you look at the camera? like this and not the person like this.
Like
If
I
you
do all the
interview
time.
stuff. Yeah, over at your screen or whatever. So yeah, you can do those sort of things, and then just practice and start small because people get daunted. It's a bit like when you start in music, people are like, "I want to do an album, but I can't do it. Like that would be too scary because I don't know where to start." And it's like, yeah, that's because you should start with like 8 bars, and then you
Yeah.
should move on to a song, and then you should move on to an EP, and then you should move on to an album. So don't try and boil the ocean straight away, but start live streaming by live streaming to yourself, watching it back. Because that's the other thing. If you, I know people say, but I hate my voice. I don't like looking at my stupid face. I'm like, yeah, no, I get you. Neither do I. But if you're not comfortable with that, you're not going to present yourself in the right way to other people. So if you can't watch it, if you cringe every time you look at it, or if you think the audio or video quality is so bad when you watch it, then other people are going to think the same sort of thing too. So do all that bug ironing out first, and then do an unlisted stream and maybe invite along a few friends and say, hey, I'm
Totally.
testing my live stream. Can you come? Give them the link and get them to come along and do that. In terms of gear and hardware these days, unfortunately, if you're incorporating anyone else or you want to do any sort of guitar playing or any sort of music integration, you kind of need a desktop still. The mobile apps are just not there yet, which is weird. They should be, but they're not, mostly because iOS in particular, the WebKit problem, you can't use things like StreamYard effectively. Hooking up audio gear doesn't always work in a lot of live streaming. If you go direct to YouTube or Facebook, sometimes you plug in a USB interface and then it just reverts back to your internal mic halfway through a stream, and that's a pain in the ass. So if you want to be serious about it, I still think you kind of need a laptop or a desktop to do that. And the easiest way to do it is with software like Restream or StreamYard. If you're doing multi-streaming, you can get free plans on those that let you stream like 50 hours a month for free at standard definition resolution and mono audio. But if you want to step it up and you want to go stereo and have lots of features like I have when I have my streams, it's about $50 a month to do that. So
All of it's an investment, unfortunately. Like if you want to get into talking about that kind of stuff, the amount of subscriptions I have that come out of this to be able to have to pay each month Restream and like to do this because I use OBS to do these interviews on Zoom. I have to pay the full Zoom amount, which is $30 a month. All these things add up, and it can get a bit over the top. And Charlie's got this written here. Do you guys ever do critique thumbnails? We don't, but I'm going to help you right now and give you one for free, Charlie, because I do watch your channel. And I've noticed with your channel, you've been doing streams on Fridays and Sundays, but your Sunday stream, I think it's Sunday, you've still got the Friday written in your bloody thumbnail. You need to make sure the right thumbnail's in the right one, mate. You know, that's very important. People notice that stuff. I think I watched one of your streams the other day and was like, hang on a minute. It says Friday in the description and and it's Sunday. What's happening here?
Hard enough for us in Australia to work out what bloody day you're streaming. Don't make it any harder.
Because we're a day away. You know, we're living in the future. But these little things are important. People notice them. And, you know, it only takes... to have a template. Templates are your friends, man. You just have your Sunday one, have your Friday one. Slightly make them a little bit different too. I mean, you know, you reusing the same thumbnail every week with no change. I mean, it's consistent, but it looks like you're not putting in much effort. That's a little thing, I think, anyway. Yeah. So consistency, just talking about, my thing for live streaming, is exactly the same. Like, just try. Like, I started out and had a terrible computer, but then I got a really good computer. I started out with awful gear, but over time, slowly but surely, was buying little things at a time. Don't try and buy everything at once. Just slowly buy things and introduce them. And over time, I like this idea of people will see your channel change over time without, like, drastic changes shock people, I think. If I just had this really hodgepodge looking show and then the next day it was like, whoa, there's all this, people get shocked by it, and you don't want to shock people. You want to slowly evolve over time. And people see that, I think, you know, people, they don't see it happening day by day, but over time they go, wow, what a difference. I think, you know, slowly improving your gear as you go on is a really good way to, because the gear that we have these days is so good. The cheapest mics these days are so damn good. So you're in a good place with gear anyway.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you really don't need to spend a lot or to do a lot for the basics. And people look at my streams; they're very basic. Like the reason I don't move away from StreamYard is it's kind of like my little comfy blanket, and I know
Yeah.
how to use everything there. And I don't have all the fancy transitions, and I don't have all the fancy overlays and things to me, it's because it's more about the content. And yeah, I could spend more time making it look shinier. But to your point, there's also a familiarity that people that watch
Yes.
my channel and watch my shows have and expect. And I also love the fact that because people say, "Oh, you've been doing this for 8 years now. Surely you can afford to have better gear and build out your studio more and have all the shiny and use Pro Tools instead of GarageBand and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, but then I'd need a whole different audience." And I'm not an expert in Pro Tools. I'm not an expert in high-end gear. I wouldn't know how to use the friggin' clock sync links to link up two different interfaces. I'm two-channel USB guy. So yeah, I think that there's also that you do need to know, right back to what we've talked about at the start. You need to know your niche. You need to know your audience really clearly.
People like familiarity.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, again, I always judge things a lot off wrestling. Now, yesterday, the wrestling show that I watch, AEW, they did a new show and they changed the entire look of the show. All the stingers, all the lighting, the entrance ramp, and fucking people lost their minds in the chat watching it live. And I'm sitting there going, it's not that bad, but people are like, the colors are so. It was like, are you watching the show or you're just like dumb? But that's it. People don't like change unless you do it very slowly and integrate it very slowly. And then by the time you just sneak it in there, before long, you've changed it and you've got to the place you want to go. Remember, I'll say it for you. It's not, it's
Marathon.
it's a marathon.
Marathon, not a sprint.
Not a sprint.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to happen tomorrow. You can just take your time, because the most important thing is the content. To me, it's the content. If you're
Yeah.
doing all the right things, but you're providing fucking nothing worth value, all the thumbnails in the world and all this stuff ain't going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've talked about. All right, this is a hard one. Maintaining consistency while trying new things.
Yeah. It's like an oxymoron, isn't it? It's contradictory terms.
Yes.
So consistency and variety are almost exact parallels and opposites. So how do you maintain consistency while allowing variety? I think it's about exactly what you said before. It's about having a core of what you do and what you do well. And I'm a massive proponent of the 80-20 rule, which is that 80% of what I do, and not what you should do, but what you can consider doing on YouTube or in life in general, is consistency, is delivering on what you are good at, delivering on what you enjoy, and then just making sure that everything's ticking along. And then give yourself 20%, give yourself one out of every five things to do a bit differently. And it's kind of like your weekends. Like, consider your work life. You work 5 days a week doing your stuff, and then you have the weekends where you get to do variety. So you've got 5 days of consistency and 2 days of variety. So you get even extra. But that's the way I look at YouTube. So for me, my consistency at the moment is, so the variety, weirdly enough, is doing these GarageBand 5-minute tutorials, because I'm doing them in a different way. I'm doing them very streamlined, very quick, no face cam, all 4K, just screen recording. And it's very different for me. So I'm enjoying that because it's outside of what I normally do. And people have actually said, most people have said, hey, these are really good, really handy. Some people have said, you've done these before, John. So yes, I have. But my consistency is having the time. So the live streams are actually beautiful for my consistency. I know you've said this before, Jade, to put words in your mouth, but yeah, having the post-it note on your desk saying, this is why you get up, this is what you do, having that time. So I know that every week at this time on these 4 days, I do a live show. And that just means that I can have that consistency and have that routine to be able to actually just get on and do it. So I think having that, and look, I know people will say, but I'm a musician and I don't know when I'm going to have time to do things. Yeah, that's fair. But you'd be surprised at those times where you're doom scrolling doom scrolling Twitter or X or Facebook or whatever, Instead, why don't you just say, hey, I always have this hour on a Friday between like 8 and 9 p.m. Why don't I dedicate that? Why don't I just go sit my ass down in front of my creation zone and do something there? So not going to work for everyone, but I honestly think that schedule, depending on how you like to say it, is kind of key to consistency, because without that, you'll find other things to do and you'll get distracted. But that's me. You may be different.
I'm
What's
all up
you,
for
Jade?
scheduling, and consistency. That's why I've been doing it at the same time for almost 4 years now. Because I look at my show as there are plenty of tutorial shows for iOS out there. You can go watch them. They don't have 10 minutes of me saying hello to everybody at the start and covering some quick news or whatever or anything. They don't play a featured artist at the end. They just cut straight to the tutorial. That's why I get people coming to my channel going, just get straight to the tutorial. And it's like, buddy, if you want that, there's a million of them. But this is a serial show. It carries on each day. This is what I've chosen to do. You can always skip past my nonsense at the start. Like, it's just a click. I know it's hard work to have to do that. I know you want everything done for you, but it is what it is, my friend. You're going to have to get out of your own way. Talking about trying to change things up, I decided to do the rants here on Monday morning, because I was finding over time doing 4 tutorials a week and then an interview was killing me. And Monday morning, nobody wants to get out of bed on a Monday morning and have to teach people something. It's the first day of the week. So I decided to move it to a rant, where now each Monday I get up and just sit there. I have no plan and just go on it. And it's working better for me, and it's actually created more engagement, because you've got to look at this is where the stats come in. What's working and what's not working. And I found Mondays, nobody was engaging in the tutorials because that's Sunday in the US.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing their Sunday thing. Nobody wants to learn anything on a Sunday, let alone me get up on a Monday and have to teach people shit. So I think, you can try new things. It's like Walk With Me as well. This started out of you doing that walking for mental health stuff. And I saw that and went, I reckon I could do some short things. It turned into a marathon. But now I'm starting to look at diversifying, because I don't know how long this app thing's going to be around. Things change with Apple, and there's a lot of laws changing with EU and all these side-loading apps and all this bullshit that's happening. One other thing I want to talk about with scheduling and stuff like that. Now, this is just my opinion. I can't do a show that goes for fucking 5 hours, right? It's a lot of time. Yeah. Partly, so there's 2 reasons I can't do those kind of shows. Is that's a long time to be sitting here and gabbing away and trying to keep people engaged. Yeah. And at the same time, I understand people's time is valuable. And there's other things that people want to do. So I want other people to go to other channels, and that's why I dump to other channels and try and share the love. And here's the other thing about those long 5-hour shows and stuff like that. Nobody goes and fucking watches them ever again. You are going to get fuck all engagement after the initial live stream. Nothing. They are dead. And you know this too from shows where you go for 2 hours playing people's music on YML. Once it's done, it's gone. Because people release so much music that they're already making music for next week's show. That's the way it is. And nobody goes back and watches that stuff.
Yeah,
so
and that's okay as long as you identify and accept that.
Yes,
so
100%.
There's absolutely no problem with doing it, and I love it. But you're right. It's very much a live. You have to be there experience, and you can use that as a leverage tool. You can create a little bit of FOMO and say if you're not there live, you're not there interacting with the chat, and you're not really feeling it. So yeah, as long as that's what the plan is and that's what you're going with. But yeah, to give you an idea, the replay value, like you say, your music live 2 hours, and I play snippets of music, so it's a bit different. But when I stream the show, it gets between sort of 600 to 1,000 views total. Of those, about 400 are during the show and about 200 are after. After a week, it's almost zero. So I could just delete those off YouTube and no one would probably ever know or care, because again, it's an in the moment thing, and that's where a lot of people, again, that are getting into YouTube, they think that a lot of these news channels must be like, man, they're getting so many views that they must be doing well. But guess what? If you talk about what a certain politician did yesterday, no one's watching that tomorrow or next week. So yeah, that you got to work out, is your content evergreen, meaning that people can watch it at any time in the
Yep.
future, or is your content to be viewed live and the replay value is going to be minimal? And you can have it both ways too. That's why your interview shows are great. That's why when I do a live podcast, I try to make it about a topic and keep it concise and to the point, so that if someone comes in after the fact and watches it then, they're almost just as engaging as watching it live.
Absolutely, and I'm not shitting on people who do the long 5-hour streams, but I'm just putting it out there. You need to realise that replay value is not there, unless you go back and you have sections of that show that you could chop and put out, like say Thomas, like with his metal section, his metal band of the week. You just go and chop that bit out and upload that as an individual thing. So there are ways to generate more content out of that, out of those long streams, if you're willing to sit there and do all that. Thank you to Frank Terzo for the generous super chat. Now, just while he's here too, now here's somebody who's come up with an idea, who's kicked off this week. Frank's kicked off a show where he's going back through the week of all of our shows and talking about highlights of all our shows. That's a clever idea. If it's kept short and succinct. If that goes for an hour each week, that's perfect, because, you're getting a quick rundown of everything. When it goes, this is where things, my opinion, again, take it with a grain of salt. When you get into like a 3-hour show of that, you want people to get an idea so then they can go and check that content. And I think it's a great idea what Frank's doing. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, man, that's somebody who's thinking on their feet, but he is the heart of the community after all.
That's it. Yeah. Look, and it's like why traditional media. Sorry, and yes, good. Frank is awesome. Love you, Frank. It's why traditional media still does what they do. Like. Yes, there's video on demand, and yes, there's other ways to do things, and yes, you can watch live, but they still have schedules for their shows. And the show, like, one of the most frustrating things, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing it's not true, because Netflix shows now piss me off when you watch one episode and it's 22 minutes and then the next episode is 48 minutes, because I'm like, just be consistent. Like, I love the fact that everything used to be 22 minutes with 8 minutes of ads, and you watch an episode of The Simpsons and you can fit it in there. But at least on Netflix, when you click that button and you start watching it, it'll tell you how many minutes it is. And that's right there front and center, because people don't like the unknown of not knowing how long something's going to go for, as a general rule, because they want to plan around it and they want to plan their lives. And people like me are super anal about their schedules. So we want to know, hey, when can I get out of here? Is this going to get to the point? Especially a tutorial, especially a live stream tutorial. My goodness, if you think, because I like the casualness of a Metalhead Hippie show or Thomas's show, because it's just cool. I don't watch the whole thing, I'll be honest, and I don't know that many folks do, but you can just drop in and it's kind of cool, because it's like, oh yeah, Thomas is on, I've got a lunch break, I'm going to drop in and watch half an hour of Tom, and that's cool. But if it's a tutorial and someone's live streaming their tutorial, you don't know how long it's going to go, and you're 2.5 hours in and you're like, oh, I've lost my will to live.
2.5 hours is a long time.
Yeah, so that's the sort of thing that I think we just need to.
Now, I'm not shitting on the shows who play music either. Don't get me wrong here. And I do realise afterwards that there is an amount of replay value. And
I won't clip it.
but in the live stream on the moment, they're rad. I love watching them. But there is just, sometimes there's other things on I want to watch. Unfortunately, I watch Thomas every week, but I normally only get to watch the first hour and a half because my wrestling's on against it, and I pay an exorbitant amount to this stupid Fight TV to be able to watch that wrestling, so I have to watch it because I've paid for it. Thomas, I can go back and watch on the replay. So time is, having a consistent schedule is a really good idea for a channel, I think, and having a time limit and letting people know what that time limit is, instead of I could go for 8 hours, who knows.
Yeah, and look, again, I'm just saying this as someone. This is only if you want to, because this is all about YouTube. If you want to engage with
Yes.
viewers and you want to increase your viewership, which I'm assuming you're probably not going to be watching this if you don't, or you're just interested in what we have to rant about, that's cool too. But yeah, like knowing that Jade's shows, like these interview shows, go for 2 hours, and you know that going in, you know that coming in that we're going to be here. I let you know, Jade let you know at the halfway point, and I let you know when there was 30 minutes to go. So little things like that that a lot of folks don't think about can actually really help, because it can keep people engaged as you're talking through things, because they're like, oh yeah, wow, there is only half an hour to go. Wow, I've been watching for an hour and a half. That's pretty cool. So yeah, just keeping those things in mind as you go. But yeah, if anyone does have any more, we got 10 minutes to go, folks. So if anyone does have any other questions, now is the time to speak up.
I got a couple more points to bring up. So just on monetization, revenue, and sponsorship, because we're both sponsored. We both have sponsors, and a lot of channels these days, we've all noticed it. Everyone's going for sponsorship because, you know, the boom in 2020 when everything kicked off, when the inconvenience happened, we all were like, wow, this YouTube thing's amazing, but it was always going to go. So sponsorship is a great thing. I'm very privileged to have a sponsor like DistroKid, as I know you believe that as well. But in getting these things, I just want to put out there to people, don't be afraid to ask. If you have a channel if you have a product, a channel that's doing well and you are thinking about things, don't be afraid to reach out to companies. Guess what? They can only say no. And when people say no, that just means the next one might say yes. And trust me, before I got a sponsorship or any of these things, the amount of rejection I've had reaching out to companies for gear and stuff has been far outweighing how many people have said yes. But you know what? You never know unless you ask. And if you're able to define that, like, you know, finding out no, and you're able to take that and wear it, who else is going to see it? You don't need to be embarrassed. It happens. People say no all the time. I know we live in a world where everybody wants everything now and yes, but just go for it, man.
Yep. Yeah. And look, no, the good thing about no is that people at least know that you're keen and that you're doing something, and maybe they know what you do. And then maybe if they see you grow and develop and do other things, then maybe there's future opportunities. So as long as you're not, that's the thing, the worst thing you can do is be a dick about it and be like, people told me that your company was shit, so I knew you'd say no. Like, yeah, burning bridges, never a good idea. So just being.
Or ask. Yeah. Ask, how could I? Like, respond, give follow-up email. Well, what do I need to do to be able to get in your good books and get some mullah from you?
Yeah, and I think it's key, and you know, shameless self-promotion, but in 10 minutes' time I got my podcast premiering, where I answer 10 of the most common questions I get, and I talk about this on that show, which is that, you need to be clear. Like when people ask to collaborate with me, if it's brah, want to collab? The answer is no, every single time. And if you are like, hey man, Pete and Jade have got DistroKid sponsorships, and you find a DistroKid email and you go, yo, DistroKid want to sponsor me? Their answer is going to be immediately no. Piss off. We don't want to deal with you. In a nice way. They'd be nicer than that. They'd be like, dear creator, thank you so much for your interest. Unfortunately, at this time. So, but just don't be a dick about it. What do you have to offer? And it's the same with a collaboration. I rant about this in the podcast, but what have you got to offer? So if someone comes to me and says, hey, I got this song, it's right up your alley, I think your vocals would be really cool on it, can I send you the stems? If you've got 5 minutes just to listen to it, if you think it's yours, it's something you'd like to do, cool. If not, no harm, no foul. I'm way more likely to do that than anyone that just goes, hey, bro, I want to collab. The answer is always going to be no. So it's the same with things like this. And you know, the anecdotal evidence I'll give you is that with DistroKid, they were sponsoring some of my videos, which was great. I had the idea for Your Music Live, and I put together a little sample reel of what Your Music Live brought to you by DistroKid would look like. And I sent that to DistroKid. So I didn't say, hey, I've got this concept. I said, this is what I'm going to deliver for you. And it was very easy for them to then say, oh, that actually looks really cool. And I think that's a good thing, because I had the branding and I showed them how I would do a read about DistroKid and about their cool services. And they were instantly able to see what it was. So if you're reaching out to someone, even if you're asking for something for you, if you present it as a what's in it for them and you make it really easy for them, that's going to make it a lot easier, whether you're collabing with someone or whether you're asking for sponsorships or whatever.
I was the same too. I had a clear idea of what I wanted sponsorship for, and it was like interviews with artists. And guess what? DistroKid deal with artists, don't they? So, you know, that's it.
Make it easy.
You know, it's simple stuff. All right, the last thing before we move on, because you've got a premiere coming up after this, which I'll bounce everybody over to. This is the thing I'm the worst at. Taking time off, managing stress and time management. I suck at it, but I at least have a plan, Pete, that eventually when it gets to a point that I can take more time off, I will take more time off. But at this point, I know people go, but you should take more time off. But it's just at that point at the moment, it's the difficult haircut stage for me. This is where the channel's at. It's that ugly stage, half a mullet, and you've got to let it grow a little bit longer. So if I take time off, it does affect the channel at this point. So I do know I need to take more time off, and I'm trying to do all that stuff. But it does affect it. But I know I will get to the point where I can take more of a step back, and I am trying to change around with Walk With Me and things that I don't have to stream as much. So that is the thing too. Try and have a plan for the future so you can get more time off and make life easier for yourself. And I'm learning that from you, Pete. I've been learning so much from you. It's ridiculous. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, and look, from 2020 to 2023, I didn't really take much time off. I was working pretty solidly to start with, 2 jobs, a full-time office job and a full-time YouTube job. And then thankfully the office job didn't want me anymore, so it was full-time YouTube. In fact, it was more than full-time because I was doing probably 60-ish hours a week on the YouTube channel. And at that time, exactly the same thing. I'm like, I'm making hay while the sun shines. I knew that once all the borders opened up, once everyone got to go outside and breathe fresh air and actually, you know, see other humans again, that it wouldn't be as good. So I worked my ass off knowing that I needed to prepare. It's like a farmer. Like when you got a really good crop, you don't just go out and buy a Ferrari with profits. You work hard, and then you know that there's going to be some lean years and some bad rain and some drought ahead. So you kind of save for that. You put your acorns away, you squirrel them away. Not only from a monetary point of view, but also from an energy point of view. So I knew that I needed to do that. And then I was able to take time off last year to go to the States and go up to Brisbane, and then have last weekend off to go to Melbourne. But I think the key of all of that is, even if you can't, it's that, because I consider myself like semi-retired right now. I can't see a time where I'm not going to be doing something related to this. The idea of retirement and doing nothing just bores the crap out of me. So never going to be there. But I take little micro breaks. So I take days. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if you take a day where you just get to completely let go and do your own thing, or even an afternoon, for instance, this afternoon, I've given myself off. So as soon as this show finishes, I'm going to go for a walk. I might drop into the sports bar I like to go to and watch a little bit of the hockey. And then I'll wander home, and then I'll hang out with my family tonight, and Georgie's going out to the fridge. So I'll be with the kids. So like that's the sort of thing. Like, you don't really need, like, when you say take a break, I think we're in the world that we have today. It doesn't always have to be right tools down and completely disconnect and go away for like a whole week. And that's good, and you need that sometimes. But if that's not available to you, enjoy the little breaks in time, those little pleasant moments that you have between the random hecticness, because that they are there if you look for them. But again, just give yourself permission. I find it hard to give myself permission to let go and to stop doing things. But once you actually embrace it and give yourself permission to just not do something, it means you're going to come back to it much more refreshed and much more focused and ready to kick on. If you push through those barriers and you don't give yourself those mini breaks, your quality of your work is going to decrease. And for musicians, that means the quality of your music is going to decrease. And nobody wants that.
Yeah, and anyone who's followed my time on being here on YouTube, you've seen me go through these ups and then downs and then claw it back. It's not the end of the world when you have some low moments on here. Just remember, you will get back. You will find that spark again. It's all good. And just another important thing, just remember this. January, February, March on YouTube always is toilet.
We are in the winter of our discontent.
If you get discouraged around this time and go, geez, it's not so good around this time. It's happening to everyone, even Mr. Beast, all the biggest creators. Everyone goes through it. It just is that period of time where you learn all this kind of stuff. Look, ultimately, we're back here at the end now. Remember to have fun. Have fun. That's the most important thing. People will engage with you if you are having fun and you are able to provide fun and let people have fun in the chat. And, you know, keep the dicks away. We don't need dicks. If dicks want to come in and spoil things, you know what? My last piece of advice for that, don't make a scene about it in the chat. Don't let dicks hijack your chat. Have good mods that just remove them and don't say a word, because they'll just think that nothing's changed and they'll still be typing for the next 3 years that they hate your guts. The minute you make a scene about it is the minute your show has been derailed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's the most important thing of all. Have fun and remember that what strangers say on the internet is probably the least important thing for you to worry about. So there are going to be people out there, and it's only the minority, and the majority of people. There is a silent majority. There's people that are watching this right now, either live or on the replay, that aren't in the chat, that aren't going to leave a comment, that are just enjoying being there and having a bit of fun. And the thing is, if you only pay attention to either your biggest 10% of fans or your biggest 10% of detractors, you're not getting a true view of what's going on anyway. So you don't have to be blind to it. If someone gives you good advice, that's good. But if someone says you suck with no context, that person deserves exactly 0 of your attention. So just move on and you'll be absolutely fine.
Don't even feed them. Just let them go, man.
Don't feed the trolls.
And lastly, look, guys, I want to see you all succeed. That's why we did this today. This isn't a wank or anything like that. Pete's up next. His premiere is probably just kicking off. How long you got?
5 minutes. So
5 minute opening music. There we go. So what have you chosen today, Pete, for the music?
I've gone not the dramatic. I can't even remember, mate. Something. I'll go fine.
But we want you guys to succeed. This isn't a wank off. We're not trying to boast or anything like that. We just want to give you some just friendly experiences that we're having. And, you know, I still look up to Pete. I'm nothing. I'm a drop in the ocean on this YouTube thing, and I'm learning every day, and you should be learning every day. Watch other things, but don't take everything as gospel that you have to do it this way. Remember, it's YouTube. All right? It's about you. It's your channel.
It's not me, Tube.
It's not me, Tube. There you go. So, and if you're following your heart, most of the time people will come and support you if you're just being as honest as possible. So I hope some of this has helped you out. Yeah. And I want to thank you all for the support on behalf of, Pete, you can do it as well, but all the support we get from all of you, the super chats, the comments, the views, very, very grateful for every moment that you all, I nearly said you people. I hate that.
You people.
You people.
Thanks, chat. We really love you, chat. What do you reckon? Chat? Oh, my pet peeve. Anyway.
Yeah, I hate that too. But no, thank you, honestly. And thank you for the super chats and gifted memberships that came through today. It's very, very appreciated. Always, you really keep the lights on for both of us here. And, you can always reach out if you need any help from us. But just remember, we live in Australia, so don't send us messages at 3 a.m.
It is true. We won't get back to you immediately. And if it's me, I probably won't get back to you for a while because I don't have any notifications on.
Yeah, so. And I'm shit too with getting back to people. I wish I was better, but it is what it is. Love you all. Have a great weekend. Walk with me's back tomorrow, so I'm editing it. It'll be up tomorrow. It's a fascinating walk. I'm taking you all to a cemetery so you can hang out with me and the dead.
I'm dying to watch it, Jade. Oh, yeah. Yes. And shameless self-promotion for me. Yeah, in about 3 minutes' time, I'll be ranting. I'm out walking around as well today, and I'm answering 10 questions I get asked all the time. There's some YouTube stuff, there's some music stuff, and there's some personal stuff in there too.
Can I just say quickly before we go, we've got a couple of minutes. So I'll wrap it up in a minute. So guys, we all met up this weekend, and hung out. One of the things look at Pete's thumbnail. That was one of the things we were talking about, wasn't it? And it turned into content. It turned into content.
I'm like, one of these days, folks, I'm going to lead with a thumbnail that says, "What happened to your eye?" And then I was like, it'd be so funny if I just do it this weekend. So I just did. So there you go.
Love you, Pete. Thank you so much for joining me today, as always, and for your mentoring and friendship. Love you lots. Let's get out of here. Do the things that make you happy, folks. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together. Let's play the theme tune and get the shit out of here. Boom. Let's rock and roll. Bye.
Bye, everybody.